Alright, what's going on, y'all? So today we're going to talk about how I've been growing and still making improvements while keeping my abs. So over the last 2 to 3 months, I've been running an experiment where I was eating out a lot more, being a lot more relaxed, while still trying to make improvements, still grow my muscle, and improve for the stage for what I need, while also staying really, really lean. Keeping my abs, keeping them pretty sharp, not stage lean, but a pretty good, I guess, Instagram appearance. And I've been getting tons of questions on my Instagram asking how I'm doing that. I've been showing me eating out a lot more, me going on trips, all of that, and maintaining my shape throughout the whole thing while still going up in strength and making the gains I need to make in the gym. So today I'm gonna lay it all out for you. I'm gonna tell you what my diet's been. I'm gonna let you know what my new training split has been and how I've been doing this. So if you guys have followed Greg Doucette, you know his big thing is Maingaining. So Maingaining is essentially where rather than doing bulks and cuts to where you'll go ahead and have a bulk to where you're setting yourself at least in a 500 calorie per day surplus, or a cut where you're doing the same thing but in a deficit, his whole strategy is essentially to find your maintenance and then barely eat over maintenance, and have those gains just come in slowly over time. So that could be 100 to 200 calorie per day surplus, and with this you're gonna barely gain any fat. Over time, you'll kind of have these little ebbs and flows of fat to where you can just essentially just chip away at it pretty easily. That's essentially what I've been doing, but with a little bit of a different strategy. So rather than having Greg Doucette's Maingaining strategy where I just barely put myself in a surplus, essentially what I've been doing has been essentially doing a 4-week mini bulk with a 4-week mini cut. Now these mini bulks and mini cuts aren't traditional bulks and cuts where I have my diet laid out to where I'm pretty greatly in a surplus during the bulks and then a huge deficit in the cuts. I've essentially been barely doing it. So during the bulks, that's just a time where I might be traveling a lot more, wanting to be more relaxed with my diet. I might be wanting to have a lot more cheat meals, all of that. I had my diet set in place that over the week period, it probably averaged out to be about 300 to 500 calories per day surplus. When I went into a deficit, it was essentially the same thing. I just tightened up and removed the cheat meals. Now with this, I was still making sure to have certain strategies in place that allowed me to still be making gains while doing these mini bulks and mini cuts. I'm gonna tell you kind of my idea on it at the end, kind of the results of it, on whether I think this is a really effective strategy if you are trying to essentially build the most amount of muscle while being pretty cut. But it's worked well for me so far. All right, so the rules I set in place for myself that really helped is every day, regardless if I was in that mini bulk or mini cut phase, I kept my protein right about 300 grams per day. This allowed me to, whether I was in a deficit, to still allow myself to keep myself from going very catabolic, if catabolic at all, to where I was burning through any muscle. And then when I was in a surplus, it was allowing me to still be making those gains in the gym. Protein is a big driver of this, and protein, out of the 3 macronutrients, protein is pretty difficult for an excess of protein to actually convert over to fat. Carbs and fat, that's very easy for those to convert to fat if you are in excess calories. Protein is actually harder to do that. So protein is also more satiating. So when you're in a deficit, it's going to keep you fuller, all of that. But this allowed me to still be making the gains I wanted to in the gym, both strength and muscle wise. On non-free days, so by free days, I mean these are the days that I wasn't tracking as hard. I was eating a lot more meals out. Maybe I was snacking throughout the day, all of that. On non-free days, I made sure to keep fats pretty low. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know my view on low fat versus low carb diets. I'm a low fat guy all across the board. So on the low fat days, I had my fat set anywhere between 40 to 50 grams per day. Essentially, it was a little bit of almond butter with a little bit of avocado, and then pretty much all the rest of my fats were coming from the actual meats, the proteins themselves. But that really did help. Another thing that really helped is no matter whether I was in a bulk or a cut phase, I made sure to have my last meal of the day, so my 6th actual meal, be no carb. That typically turned out to be either a couple eggs with egg whites, or some chicken breast with avocado, but essentially just a protein with some fats. And that also really helped me stay lean while still making improvements in the gym. On the gym side, I still made sure to run with my high intensity bodybuilding. I didn't change up any of the movements that I like to do. If you guys have checked out the raw intensity mass gainer program down below, it's actually going to be pretty similar to the split I've switched back to, but I made sure with that to really focus on progressive overload. And during this entire 2 to 3 month period, I also was making pretty drastic strength gains. So those strength gains, that definitely, equated over to muscle gains as well. My physique has changed a good bit over the last 2 to 3 months while still maintaining about the same level of body fat percentage. I might have fluctuated 2 to 3% here or there, but it was just, small ebbs and flows. And I'll show you on MyFitnessPal, where my weight has been, but it's essentially been between 205 to 215 for the last 2 to 3 months. And it's just been making small improvements along the way. I'll build a little bit and then I'll chip away, and then essentially rinse and repeat. Now, my kind of viewpoint on this is if you guys are trying to go pro, you're trying to make the most amount of gains possible, all of that, I am a traditional bulk and cut guy. I think it's the most efficient way out there. I can tell there is a difference in the amount of muscle I put on when I'm actually going through, say, a 12 plus week actual bulk growing season versus these, kind of mini bulks with mini cuts with the small surpluses and small deficits. It's just with those, you're not going to keep the same condition to where, if you wanted to do kind of this Maingaining strategy, this is how you're going to be able to do it while staying leaner. But I think the most efficient way is absolutely a traditional bulk with traditional cuts. Is proven by many bodybuilders. I personally believe in it myself, that if you are trying to essentially have the most impressive physique possible, build the most amount of muscle possible, and then essentially get down to a very conditioned level, you're going to have to go through some pretty traditional bulks, followed by actual cutting. And then when you build that physique, that's then when you can go ahead and run with this Maingaining strategy. For me right now, over time I do want to still grow, but I'm kind of liking the kind of Michael Hearn look and strategy to where he stays relatively the same look throughout the year. He ebbs and flows from these small little bulks and small little cuts. And me personally, I am enjoying it a lot more. I have a lot more flexibility in my diet. Me personally, I'm not trying to put on a lot more size right now. So I'm enjoying this. Now, what's coming up is I am getting ready to go into a little bit more of a traditional cut, at least for the next 6 weeks, and then I'll reassess from there. I just want to tighten up a little bit more before we get into the fall season, and then I'm actually going to be making the call on whether I want to do a pro show later this year or wait till 2023. But I want to make sure I'm ready in place for that. So now let's talk about the training split I moved to. So before this summer, before I kind of went through this like Maingaining test phase, I was doing push-pull legs, rest, repeat. I personally believe push-pull legs, rest, repeat is the best split for, say, 80% of people out there. Until you get pretty advanced, that's going to give you great bang for your buck. You're going to have the frequency in place that you need. It's going to give your body still time to recover. That way you can still have the intensity in the gym, all of that, but you're going to have the volume in place, the intensity in place, and the frequency in place to really maximize muscle gains. Now, once you get to a little bit more of an advanced level, or you're lifting some really heavy weights, what I've come to experience is push-pull legs, rest, repeat isn't enough time to give the joints the actual time they need. My knees and my adductors, they were just completely fried when I was doing push-pull legs, rest, repeat. And I was also experiencing, not as much arm gains as I personally like. So this is where I threw back in my arm day. If you guys have the Raw Intensity Mass Gainer program, that has an actual arm day in there, but I went back to that. So now what I'm doing is I'm doing push-pull legs, rest, push-pull arms, legs, rest, repeat. Now, the each push day, each pull day, and each leg day has an A session and a B session. Those just have different movements. So I have a push A pull A, and a legs A. And on these push days, I do incorporate a little bit of tries and a little bit of buys, and then I rest. And then on push B, I have no tries. On pull B, I have no buys, because then I have an actual arm day, and then I've got a legs B session. But that's my current split right now. It's push, pull, legs, rest, push, pull, arms, legs, rest, repeat. It's been working out really well for me. It's kind of removed that joint pain, giving me a little bit extra time to recover. My typical kind of general rule of thumb is I like to hit everything in an 8 to 10 day period twice, or 3 times. No, twice. But that's kind of what I found the frequency that works really well for me. Anything more than that, and I start having a lot of joint pain. Anything less than that, and I do noticed just not as much, not as many gains. You know, the bro split where you're hitting everything once per week, I just feel like isn't quite enough. And most people can maximize gains if they incorporate a little bit more frequency. But that's what I've been doing. I've been getting tons of questions on my Instagram about this. And this is how I've been maintaining, you know, my abs throughout this entire summer while still eating out, and still making gains in the gym. It's just, like I said, you know, the most efficient strategy if you're trying to put on the most amount of muscle, you're trying to really, really maximize your off season, you need to go ahead and just put yourself in a surplus and rock with that for, you know, a certain period of time, or until you feel yourself getting too high body fat percentage that you need to either do a mini cut or an actual cut before rolling back into your bulk, or actually deciding to cut down. But you know, if you've already got kind of the size you want and you want to stay really, really conditioned while still making some small improvements, I definitely think this strategy is great. And it's also great too if you need just kind of a break from the kind of bodybuilder bro life where you're eating just chicken and rice all the time. This is also nice as well because you have, you know, periods of time where you can be pretty relaxed, and not have, you know, too drastic of a change to your body. And then you can go ahead and tighten up for a few weeks and then give yourself another break. But I'm really enjoying this right now. I'm going to keep you guys posted. Like I said, the next few weeks coming up, I am doing more of a traditional hardcore cut. I've upped my cardio already, dropped the calories quite a bit. My fats are pretty dang low right now, but I started that just 2 days ago. So by no means am I feeling it yet, but we'll see where this ends up and then kind of what I decide for the end of the year. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I kind of wanted to just give you guys an update of where I've been, kind of what I've been doing lately. If you guys want me to do kind of a video on, you know, the compounds I've been running this summer, I've not been doing any crazy cycle or anything like that, but I have been running more than just TRT. I can definitely do a video on that as well. But definitely drop any comments down below. Let me know what you guys want to see next. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. Have a great rest of your day.